In this video, I'll show you how to easily produce cast lettering just like these. It's a cool way to embellish or personalise a project, and obviously the lettering is fake, but it's quite robust and it's pretty convincing. Here's a test piece that I made very quickly just to see if it'd work. It's not too bad, but we can do better, so let's make another. I've got my design printed out in reverse, and I'll make a pattern mould of that from a piece of plastic chopping board. The first thing I need to do is remove the texture from the chopping board, and that's easily done with a scraper. A regular pencil doesn't work that well on the chopping board, but a picker pen is much better. I'll block out the reverse of the design to make a transfer paper, putting down plenty of lead or whatever it is these pens use. Next, I'll go over the whole design with a regular pencil and transfer it onto the board. I'll be carving this by hand, which is actually very easy to do, but if you have a CNC, then that would be even easier, and I reckon a 3D printer would be great too. I don't have either of those machines though, so it'll be carving for me. I'm nearly there. I've only got one number to go, and I reckon that's looking pretty good. It doesn't need to be perfect because cast lettering's never perfect anyway, and that goes for the marking and when we come to carve it. As long as you do pretty good, then it should come out fine. To carve it, you could use a small but deep gouge. This is the smallest one I have, and it's too big for this lettering, so I'll use a V gouge. The plastic is very easy to carve, and as I said earlier, cast lettering is far from perfect. If you do give this a go, your carving doesn't need to be amazing either. As long as you do a somewhat decent job, it will turn out effective. I start by cutting strokes through the centre of the letter, and then I go back over it, leaning the chisel over to the one side and taking off a little more until it's close. And then I take another pass, leaning the chisel towards the opposite edge, and to clean the ends up I use a knife. I go over the whole design, which really doesn't take too long at all, and then I'll refine it later. If you're not confident with carving though, then maybe the 3D printer route is the go. And if you haven't tried carving before, you should give it a go anyway, because it's fun and you'll probably get hooked. I started using the knife on the ends of the letters first, which I think worked better and it was a little bit neater, and I thought I'd show one letter being carved from start to finish. You can see how nice the plastic is to carve, and just like any other carving, it's much easier if you have a sharp chisel. The reason for experimenting with this is I have a project coming up that this will be well suited for, and I would normally show something like this within the project video, but I thought it was worthy on its own. Let me know what you think, or whether you would have just preferred it in that project video. That's all of the big letters done, and now onto the smaller ones. And I didn't time the whole carving process, but to give you some idea, this clip of carving all the small letters was 6 minutes long, and I would guess that the big letters took about 3 times as long as that. I pressed some blue tack into each word just to see how they'd look. Plasticine would have been much better, but I couldn't find any. Anyway, they look pretty good, but I did spend a few minutes checking over the whole thing and refining them. The mould is done, and I'll use this piece of angle iron to do a test on. I'll sand and clean a section of it for the lettering to stick to, and I'll also wipe it down with some isopropyl alcohol. I went through all my storage looking at every type of filler that I have, and as soon as I found the JB Weld, I realised that would be the best option. It really is very tough, and this little test will give you some idea. If you did attack it with a piece of steel or something like that, it obviously wouldn't hold up then, but it really isn't going to wear out soon or chip easily. Once I've filled the letters, I push the JB Weld into all the corners by pushing it in each direction. I lightly skim over the whole thing, making sure not to drag too much out, and then scrape off the excess around the outside, and leaving a little bit here and there shouldn't be an issue and can be sanded out later. The JB weld takes 6 hours to set, so I'll clamp the mould down and leave it overnight. I reckon that looks great. It was super easy to do and the mould can be used again and again. I'll also feather out the edges, then I'll put some paint on and find out how effective it really is. I reckon that looks great, so I've decided to put it on my milling machine stand, and as I made that a couple of years ago, I've left the date off. Hopefully this was helpful. If you enjoyed it, I think you may also enjoy this video here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.